Plessy v. Ferguson. It was important mostly because it set the precedent for the identification of separate but equal for the next 60 years. And what would happen is that segregation will become legal so long as the different facilities were equal, in a sense. So some background information. After the Civil War and after the Reconstruction, slavery was abolished, but Southern governments still sought to socially separate the black people from the white people, so they enacted Jim Crow laws, and they were enforced by criminal penalties, such as fines and jail time. In 1890, Louisiana segregated railroads, and they designated races in 2 or more rail cars.
Right now.
And as such, they created a fine and a penalty of jail if it was violated. So there's a man by the name of Homer Adolph Plessy, who had one black great-grandparent, and he was known by as an octoroon, which was 1/8 black. And he was part of an organization that intentionally sought to break Jim Crow laws to declare them unconstitutional. So he went to a rail car and he sat in the white section of the rail car. And when he was asked to move, he kept refusing to move and kept saying no. So he was arrested. And then he was tried. He kept petitioning the Louisiana Supreme Court to stop the charges, but they wouldn't listen to him. So, they refused, so he appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court instead. And they listened to the case. So the constitutional issues here was one of it was the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery in the Civil War, and that had some implications with it, along with the rights of blacks. But more importantly, it had an issue with the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Equal protection was a somewhat broad term. So, like, what did Jim Crow laws? Did Jim Crow laws actually break them? We'll decide later. The notion of separate but equal is already well established in the South. But the real question was, does the equal and separate but equal equate to the same definition as equal protection under the 14th Amendment? So some arguments for Plessy. As a citizen, Plessy couldn't be denied the rights of citizenship, including sitting on the rail car, and Jim Crow laws therefore violated the 14th Amendment. As for the arguments for Louisiana, the right of state to protect the safety of the public was very prevalent here, and the segregation reflected the public will at that time. So the court decision. The Supreme Court actually upheld the Louisiana law 7-1, and surprisingly, the only dissenting justice was from the South. As for the rationale, they decided that the Jim Crow laws neither violated the 13th nor the 14th Amendment. They stated that the 13th Amendment only abolished slavery and not segregation. As for the 14th Amendment, they claimed that the 14th Amendment was never intended to give social equality to blacks to the degree of whites, and it only guaranteed civil and political equality. And here's a fun quote from the Northern Justice. Legislation is powerless to eradicate racial instincts or to abolish distinctions based upon physical differences. And therefore, that implies that legislation can't really affect attitude. At least that's what they believe. So the effect of this decision, it set the precedent that law can't level civil positions between different people if they're different. And the Louisiana law, along with Jim Crow laws, were actually declared as promotion for the public good because it reflected the will of the people. And therefore, segregation is equal, but segregation is legal, but facilities must still be equal in a sense. But in practice, they weren't always equal. So segregation would remain in effect for the next 60 years after this decision, and it still retains the precedent that law can't affect social perception, no matter what's enacted. Oh, and here's some regional irony. Justice Henry B. Brown of Michigan, who was from the North, justified segregation, but Justice John Marshall Harlan from the South was a lone dissenter. He believed that the Constitution was too colorblind. And that needed to be fixed, and that's just when we're excited.
All right.